Did you know that the first 50,000 are the hardest part of building wealth, and that the path from there to 100,000 suddenly becomes much easier? It may sound surprising at first, but that's exactly what happens, both mathematically and psychologically. So if you're currently somewhere between 0 and 50,000, you're in the most challenging, but also the most important phase of your financial journey. Before we begin, a quick note. Nothing shown here is financial advice. This is simply my personal research, experience, and perspective. If you'd like to support this work, feel free to subscribe. In one of my recent videos, I talked about the point where everything begins to change, the 10,000 mark. That's the moment when your mindset around money shifts. You start gaining control, understanding structure, and actively managing your finances. But today, we're talking about the next major turning point. The moment when you no longer work only for your money, but your money begins to work for you. At around 50,000 in invested capital, something fascinating happens. With an average annual return of 7%, your money generates around $290 a month, roughly the same amount that the average person saves actively each month. This means your wealth now works just as hard as you do, only passively. And this is where the game begins to change. The 50,000 mark is the moment where wealth building starts to feel real. Not because you're suddenly rich, but because you begin to feel the results of your own discipline. It also feels, visually and mentally, like the halfway point on the road to 100,000. From here, you can finally sense momentum, as if you're shifting into a new phase. The first 50,000 feel like running a marathon against the wind, especially at the beginning. You start from zero. You slowly build your income. You learn how to save. You lose motivation, then start again. And the cycle repeats, sometimes many times. Every decision feels heavy. Every mistake feels costly. And progress seems almost invisible. That's because you haven't built momentum yet. When you have only 5,000 invested, a 7% return gives you around $350 a year. It helps, but you barely feel it. In this phase, every bit of growth comes directly from your effort. The compounding effect hasn't started helping yet. You are your own engine, your own investor, your own motivation. And yes, you have to push through this phase, because the first 50,000 aren't just a number. They are the price you pay to learn discipline, consistency, and structure. This is where you develop the behavior that eventually creates financial freedom. Around 50,000, the system begins to shift. Your capital starts participating. For example, at 10,000 invested, 7% gives you $700 a year. At 50,000, it becomes $3,500 a year. That's a summer vacation, holiday gifts, a safety buffer. This is the moment when you realize you are no longer working alone. Your money is contributing, and that changes everything. Market fluctuations no longer feel frightening. They start to feel natural. You watch your money work, and you begin trusting the process. From here onward, it's less about motivation and more about systems and management. You understand that building wealth is not a sprint, but a formula of time, discipline, and repetition. The most important shift happens in your mindset. Below 50,000, you must create every dollar yourself. Above 50,000, you become the manager of your wealth, not just the source of it. You stop thinking, I have to save as much as I can, and begin thinking, how should I structure my capital? What level of risk fits me? This is the first time you experience genuine financial stability and confidence, because you built it yourself. From here, your relationship with money changes. You become calmer, more long-term, less emotional. This is the turning point. At 50,000, you gain your first real sense of financial ease. Your system begins working. Your capital grows steadily, not in dramatic jumps, but visibly and reliably. And that motivates you on a new level. This is why the journey from 50,000 to 100,000 feels easier. Mathematically, because your capital now produces meaningful returns. Psychologically, because you trust the process. You are no longer in survival mode. You are in growth mode. Remember this, the first 50,000 are not your goal. They are your training. You learn how to handle money, how to handle fluctuations, and how to handle yourself. If you make it through this phase, you gain not only a portfolio, but character. And that is why most people fail, not because they earn too little, but because they give up too early. If you stay consistent long enough, eventually something shifts. Your system begins to carry you. If you're currently below 50,000, don't see it as a disadvantage. See it as your financial education. I'm curious to hear your journey.